What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome to our continued early, halfway through the college football season, 2020 draft prep. We already did my early QB rankings one, where we went through my top 10 quarterbacks, a couple honorable mentions. Today, we're moving to a position that, unlike, quarterbacks, I've been hit or miss throughout my time over the last 5-ish years talking about the draft when it comes to the quarterback position. But when it comes to the running backs, which is what we're talking today as a former running back myself, I feel like I got a good grasp. A good eye on what makes a good running. Really, the only running back that I think I might have whiffed on a little bit was Alvin Kamara coming out of Tennessee, and I still didn't, dog him as a prospect. I just wasn't as high. I remember he got some first-round buzz when he was coming out of Tennessee, and I was like, I don't know. I'd pump the brakes on that. That's really the only time I've ever been, kind of wrong about the running backs that are talked about at the top end of the draft, and I've been able to sift through a lot of stuff and, dictate who is going to be good, who's going to be bad fairly well for being a YouTube scout. So today we're going to be looking at the running back class here for 2020. I think it's an excellent draft class. I'm looking at my top 10 right now. I think all 10 of these guys have a lot of upside, and everything that we talk about on this channel almost reverts back to the Philadelphia Eagles. And while Philly's having a lot of success this season with Miles Sanders looks pretty damn good. The fact that we had to use a second-round pick on that, knowing that this year's draft class, the 2020 draft class, was going to be stacked, maybe it's not the best draft asset spending a second-round pick on a guy like Miles Sanders, where really I think in this year's draft class there could be a Miles Sanders in the 4th round or something like that, because it's a little bit more top-heavy versus last year, where really the backs were Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders. That's pretty much it. So without further ado, jumping into our list at number... We're going to go in reverse order. For quarterbacks, we went from 1 all the way to number 10. I feel like going from 10 all the way down is a little bit better. So we have some honorable mentions before we get in the top 10. LaMichael Pirine for the Florida Gators, Salvon Ahmed from Washington Huskies, and CJ Verdell might declare redshirt sophomore from Oregon. Those guys are just outside on my watch list. At number 10, though, we have Ke'Shawn Vaughn, 5'10", 215-pound running back out of Vanderbilt. He is a home run hitter, not so much with his pure straight line speed, but his vision, averaging 7.1 yards per carry for Vanderbilt. He's a solid receiving back too. You can utilize him in that regard, so you could consider him a little bit of a 3-down prospect, though his pass protection is somewhat limited. But the downside for Ke'Shawn Vaughn is he's going to be a 23-year-old rookie. He's been in college since 2015, spending time at Illinois, then transferring to Vanderbilt. And really, at the end of the day, he's just an okay athlete. And okay athletes can have great NFL careers, but we're talking about ranking all these great running backs. The elite athletes are going to, the guys are going to light up the combine that also have great tape and great talent are going to get pushed up the list. And the guys that, just are more so, a solid athlete, they're going to struggle to make the list. So Ke'Shawn Vaughn for me coming in at number 10. Plus, a little bit of a down year right now for Vandy. 2 years ago, you look at the tape from 2018, a lot better than what we're seeing this season. Going to running back number 9, we have Cam Akers, 5'11", 215 pounds out of Florida State. When you look at Cam Akers, you have a guy that has potential to be a 3-down running back in the National Football League. He's a good athlete, should test well at the combine, has very solid hands. He's not, I wouldn't say he's a natural catcher of the ball, but enough so that he's not like your Benny Snell's, if you will, where Benny Snell was ridiculous, highly regarded last year at Kentucky, but ultimately fell down draft boards because you're not going to really utilize him in the passing game. I think a guy like Cam Akers can have that, therefore gives you that 3-down ability. Plus, he was one of the highest recruited running backs in a long time, 5-star recruit. Maybe he hasn't lived up to that reputation. I mean, it's been a down period for Florida State, but he has been a bright spot. I think he struggles a little bit with consistency. His vision behind the line of scrimmage sometimes can be hit or miss, and he plays a lot of hero running back, which I guess you could say, think of LaShawn McCoy a little bit. Buffalo Bills fans, Philadelphia Eagle fans, now Kansas City fans. If you take the run that was called, you might gain 4 or 5 yards. But there's always that, maybe you can bounce to the outside and get, a 60-yard touchdown. And that a lot of times gets your running back in trouble. You lose yardage, tackles for loss, and all that stuff. And you do see some issues with that for Cam Akers at Florida State. Now, there are concerns about the offensive line, which doesn't help things and maybe magnifies the hero ball aspect to his game. But I definitely think he's one of the more underrated running back prospects in this year's draft and definitely could have a shot to shoot up much higher than the number 9 spot as we get closer to the draft. Going to running back number 8, I have Eno Benjamin, 5'10", 205 pounds out of Arizona State. He's a running back that comes in with great burst, probably one of the more dynamic players in the Pac-12 right now. Out of all the running backs we are talking about here today, he's one of the better catchers too. One of the better, he's natural. He's natural at that backfield. They utilize that a lot. He's just the big weapon on Arizona State right now. When they're going with a true freshman quarterback, they've been able to rely on Eno Benjamin more often than not. The negatives is coming in at 5'10", 205, slightly undersized for what you're looking for. When you're a running back that's that big, there's always going to be concerns about your 3-down ability, because sure, you could be on the field at 3rd down to catch a pass, but are you going to be able to stay out there and pass protect? Sometimes small running backs can do that. Darren Sproles, for one, can, but I think that's going to be an area of his game that he needs to improve. But it's just, it's a matter of fact. When you're an undersized running back, pass protection is always going to be pretty tough when you're assigned to stop like a 240, 245-pound linebacker. Going to running back number 7, one that doesn't need any help in pass protection, we have Najee Harris. 6'2", 230 pounds, out of Alabama. A power back with phenomenal explosiveness. He had that highlight reel run where he just straight up jumped, fell like 6 feet in the air over a dude and ran right into the end zone. I think he has lots of tread on his tires. Pretty much all running backs from Alabama. We saw it with Josh Jacobs last year. I mean, he went in the first round to the Oakland Raiders, and he has had a great rookie season. They're not a lot of, they don't get run to the ground. There's usually 3 or 4 running backs that split all the carries, so that when there is that true talent there versus someone that we're going to talk about at the very top of this list, Najee Harris is going to have half, if not less, as many touches as a lot of the other running backs that we have here. So if the talent is there, the fact that he's going to basically be way fresher, way less, everyone has a clock. It's that everyone has that shelf life. There's only so much you can do until those tires pop because there's no tread left on them. I think that is a positive for Najee Harris. And this year he has shown some receiving ability in 2019. 12 catches, 123 yards, 4 touchdowns, kind of picking up where Josh Jacobs left off as a receiving back there for Alabama. So I think when you're 6'2", 230 and you can catch the ball, there's going to be a spot for you in the NFL. Now, the negative for Najee Harris at 6'2", 230, the straight line speed. He's an explosive runner, short area speed, but straight line, he's not going to be, that guy that's going to outrun the entire secondary when he gets to the second level, more often than not in the NFL. And I guess you could use that limited usage as a little bit of a downside because you can't gauge him as a bell cow back. Can he handle the load of being the guy? But those are similar complaints and issues that we had with Josh Jacobs, and so far, so good for him in Oakland. So actually, and I also think the success of Josh Jacobs helps Najee Harris because they do share a lot of the similar concerns. Going to running back number 6, I have Zach Moss, 5'10", 210 pounds, out of Utah. He is a violent runner, one of my favorite players in the draft class. Great burst, showed in 2017 that he can catch the ball, had 30 catches that year. They're just kind of, they've changed the way that they utilize him, and they don't require him to catch as many balls anymore. But because that, you have to mention that when you talk about running backs in today's NFL climate, you have to be able to get and be relied upon for at least 20 to 30 catches a game, or else you're going to be viewed as a change of pace committee back, and that's going to drastically affect where you're going to get drafted. You're going to go from a guy that, like I said, Benny Snell, anyway. What did he go? 5th round, 6th, day 3 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but if this was 10 years ago, he might have been the 2nd or 3rd round pick because of the style of runner and the way that everything's going. So I think for Zach Moss, there could be some concerns about that, but looking at his 2017 tape, not that big of a concern for me, and I think ultimately brings that 3-down potential. He has the mentality to get in on pass pro, he can catch the ball, and he's really good between the tackles. Now, the negative is he's going to be slightly older than the rest of the class as he is a true senior. He's going to be like an old 22 when the season starts, so that is kind of a negative when you're dealing with the fact that some of these guys are going to be 20, 21. When you get a guy that's closer to 23 than he is to 20, that kind of weighs a little bit negative against a player. Occasionally, we'll play hero ball as well. When something's not there for Utah, he'll just, rather than take the 3 yards or 2-3 yards, he'll try to dance a little bit behind the line of scrimmage more than I like, and it will be a TFL. And when all is said and done, he's not an elite athlete, which is why he's not much higher on this list. I think in terms of where I like a player, he's probably my 2nd or 3rd favorite running back in the class. But because some of the other guys have elite athletic traits, game-breaking speed, you're going to have to put the guys that are really good running backs but not elite athletes just a little bit lower. Going to running back number 5, I have J.K. Dobbins, 5'10", 220 pounds, out of Ohio State. Pretty much built like Maurice Jones-Drew, a.k.a. very low to the ground, very powerful, very much a thick boy, and tough to tackle. I think he's a 3-down running back with near elite burst. He's not, I don't think he's going to run like a 4.3 or probably even a low 4.4, but just for that short yardage to get out into space. He is almost as good as anyone in this draft class. And when you just look at him, you just see a guy that's a really solid running back. I think he should go probably in the second or third rounds. The only negative would be consistency. Had a down year in 2017, and he did split carries with Mike Weber, who I think he went undrafted to the Dallas Cowboys or something like that. But it was a little bit of a down year. And when you have 3 years, I mean, he was tremendous as a freshman, set a bunch of records for Ohio State. He's looking pretty good this year in 2019, but you always have to consider, like, what happened in that down year? Are you going to be a sporadic runner? Are you going to be a spotty runner? You're going to have a couple good games, a couple bad games. What's going on there? Overall, that's the negative that I have seen around the scouting community for him. I don't think it's that big of an issue. I think he's a really solid running back and should go early day 2. Go to running back number 4. It is my Canadian brethren, Chuba Hubbard. 6'1", 210 pounds, out of Oklahoma State. He's a redshirt sophomore, so he has age and usage on his side. Now, I think he does declare because they are running him into the ground this year. I don't think for his draft stock, if he goes back for Oklahoma State again and they run him like, they're straight up going to run him like almost 400 goddamn times this season. Not good. It's not good to have a running, that's exaggerating, but he's going to probably touch the ball over 300 times. So I feel like when you're a redshirt sophomore, have your big year this year, then go to the league, kid. He has elite speed. He's a great athlete. He's a track star. I think he went to Oklahoma State for track. He does track and football. Now, well, he might not be like a 4.2, might not be as fast as the running back we're about to talk about. He's still plenty fast. I think he probably could get into the 4.3s, somewhere in that territory, high 4.3s. Solid hands, can catch. And really, the only negative about his game is his pass protection. His pass protection is not that great, not really a willing blocker. That is something that you can get coached up on, can get taught. But right now, it is almost, I would say, inconsiderate, a red flag to his game. He's not asked to do it a lot, and when he does, it's not that great. Going to running back number 3, we have Travis Etienne, 5'10", 200 pounds, out of Clemson. One of the fastest players in this draft class, regardless of position. Home run hitter, isn't afraid of contact for being 200 pounds for that frame. You'd figure maybe a little bit of CJ Spiller. Remember, there's another Clemson running back where he was just a pure speed guy, didn't really want to look for contact, but Etienne looked for contact, which could be a little bit of an issue when you're that kind of size frame. Doesn't always work, man. And we're going to talk about that with the next running back. Very similar, where they're biting off, their bark is bigger than their bite, I guess. And you kind of want that mentality, but there's always a downswing of durability concerns, especially when you get to the next level. A lot of scouts right now note issues with his catching consistency. I didn't necessarily see this, but I looked on a couple of the sites that I do trust for the more in-depth scouting, things that I don't pick up when I look for more so when I look for my confirmation bias on a prospect. But it did come up quite a bit. I didn't really notice it, but it came up enough to argue it. And always pretty much common with all the 200-ish or sub 200-pound running backs, pass protection. It's going to be a big-time struggle and a learning curve at the next level. But really, are you going to ask him to pass protect a whole lot? Probably not. But that is what separates a guy like that from being a complete running back, a complete three-down back versus just being a change of pace guy. Going to running back number 2, we have DeAndre Swift, 5'9", 215 pounds, out of Georgia. He is your 2019 running back 1 prototype in the NFL. A lot of similarities from his game to, say, Alvin Kamara. He can catch, he can run the ball as good as anyone in the draft class. His vision and patience behind the line of scrimmage is excellent. He's very, very powerful, very, very explosive, but not really a top-end elite athlete. I don't think he's going to be setting any 40-yard dash records or anything like that. Might actually, he seems like he could be one of those guys that might disappoint just a little bit. You might be seeing a 5'9", 215. It'd be great to see him run high 4.4s. He'd be one of those guys I could see him running a mid 4.5 and people being really, really disappointed. But that's not really the strength of his game, is not being a home run hitter. It's the fact that he can do it all, especially behind the line of scrimmage. And much like Travis Etienne, maybe even more so with DeAndre Swift, there is that size, bark not matching the bite, durability concerns. And I bring back to Darius Geis. Darius Geis, this was the common negative for him, is that he was a violent runner, but he wasn't the biggest guy. And obviously, I don't think you can accustom the injuries Darius Geis has necessarily had in the NFL with his running style, but he hasn't played a whole lot because he's been hurt. And the fact that that is a similar trait between Travis Etienne and DeAndre Swift that they share with Darius Geis could bring up a potential red flag. And then finishing up with my number 1 running back in the draft class, it is Jonathan Taylor, 5'11", 215 pounds, out of Wisconsin. He's excellent at almost everything. His vision, his power. In 2019, he's showcasing his receiving ability, which was the big knock entering this season. He already has doubled his 2017 and 2018 receiving numbers here in 2019 in only 6 games. So I do appreciate Wisconsin for saying, hey, let's help this guy get drafted as high as humanly possible and showcase that he does have some receiving talent to his game. Man, he's really, really good. Obviously, he's going to be a Heisman front runner, But when you look at the negatives, as much as we talked about the quarterbacks, especially with Tua and Joe Burrow, where one of the negatives for them were their wide receiver, their supporting cast. Same could be said for Wisconsin. Wisconsin's offensive line is always overpowered. They are an offense that is designed to run the ball, so his numbers and stats are going to be slightly padded, I guess. I think you can argue that his top-end speed's not truly elite. Yeah, I've seen him get caught from behind a couple times, where if you are like a Saquon Barkley doesn't get caught from behind. But Jonathan Taylor still is an exceptional running back. He does have a lot of miles on him. Looks like when all is said and done this year, he'll have just over 800 total carries in 3 years at Wisconsin. That is a lot of usage. So that could be a cause for concern, especially when you're comparing him to maybe some of the redshirt sophomores in this year's draft class that aren't going to have like a third of the amount of carries that he is going to have. So there you go, guys. Those are my top 10 running backs right now at around the midway point of the college football season. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of the takes, any of the positionings that you saw here today. I don't think we really missed anyone on our list. Anthony McFarland from Maryland is a popular running back, but he's a redshirt sophomore. So we do have Chuba Hubbard, who's a redshirt sophomore. That's it on our list. But there's potential that like him, CJ Verdell, and Chuba Hubbard could all declare as redshirt sophomores. And then once we get a little closer to the draft process and we know what underclassmen are going or not, we definitely will be able to revise this list because McFarland for Maryland is really, really good. So thank you guys for watching. As always, if it's your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.